Hello everyone, my name is Raven, and welcome to Raven Gaming Labs, and welcome to this lovely video on creating a retro crate that is like, 90s PS1 style setup, even working with similar limitations, although not necessarily texture size for this, but still, we're going to be making something that looks like it would be in a PlayStation 1 game. And just want to say before we get started, this crate was made by a good buddy of mine, and he did a really nice job. We made this for something else, but this works out really well. And it's already unwrapped. It's got a pretty decent unwrap. Most of the unwrap is, we're going to be using up almost all of the texture space. Now, the first thing we need to do is we actually need a texture of some kind. And in the description, I'm going to leave a link to a site called textures.com, ambient CG, and so forth. And you can look around and try to find a texture that, kind of fits with, whatever you want to do or whatever you're working on. I'm going to leave a list to a couple in there. And also, if you're dealing with PBR textures, so albedo maps strip out a lot of like light data and stuff because it's, pretty much how they work. So if you are downloading PBR textures, I really recommend that you do like a multiply mix of the color and the AO, because it adds a little bit of shading and stuff back into the texture. But it's not necessary, figure out what you like and all that good stuff. And I'm going to use this because I used it before. And even though it's actually some kind of like rough peeled bark wood, looks like there's a nail in there. When we scale this down to PlayStation resolution, it actually looks fine. So you can hit Control-Alt-I, or you can go up to Image, and we want to do Scale Image to New Size. And I'm going to use the Lancos 3 filter, but feel free to use whichever one gives you the look that you're going for. And since this is a 2K texture, Lancos will help retain some, not all, but some of the quality there. And then we're just going to save it, and I'm going to not put it in my textures folder. And put it on the desktop, and I'm going to call it crate1_D, the D being diffuse, because, it's an old style engine here. And we are just going to hit save, and we'll hit OK. Now, we don't actually need to store the alpha transparency, so we'll just do that. Wasn't really probably necessary because it was already a JPEG, but still. And we'll go to texture paint, and then we will hit open on the texture slots. And we'll go to desktop, and then we will select crate1_D. And you'll see we have this very gross looking thing here. And we're going to pull this back down, and we're going to select where it says linear for the interpolation. We're going to select closest. And we have a decent-ish look. But now what we want to do is we want to go over to our material. Make sure you're in the materials panel down here. Base color, image texture. Click the drop down. We'll select crate1_D, and then we'll select closest. And now when we set it to material preview, you can see we have our lovely material. Now, since this is not for PBR rendering, we're going to drag the roughness to 1 and set the IOR level for the specular down to 0. And it'll give it a really flat look, which is exactly what we're going for here. Whoops. And we'll go back to texture paint. And I'm going to set it into material preview so I get a little bit better of a look. Actually, I can leave it into solid so we just get nice flat shading. Now, I don't really like the way, in other words, I want the grain going in the other direction. So I'm going to reopen it up into Krita. And I am just going to rotate 90 degrees to the right. And I will just Control S, hit OK, go back into Blender, hover over this 2D image viewport and hit Alt. Oh, wait, I can't do that because Alt R would kill the recording. So go to Image and then go to Reload Textures. And yeah, there we go. So now we have a nice, basic, little, just a simple crate here. Yeah, exactly what I want. And now we're going to go back into Solid, and we're going to go up to the Tools panel up here. And I'm going to set it to say I don't know, 20 maybe? I'm going to draw on that. No, that's a little too thick, I think. Let's maybe try 10, perhaps. That'll work. I can work with that. Okay. And we could do some like symmetry tools, but what we're going to do now is we're actually going to draw some lines in here. And oh, right. Let's give ourselves like actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and hit new on the color palette. And let's just drag this down until we get something that we kind of like for our I'm going to set this to material preview. That shine is kind of annoying. Let's go maybe a little darker. Actually, let's go a little lighter. That'll work. And we'll hit the plus sign there. And now we'll go to stroke method, line. And we will now we'll hit tab to go into, the edit mode there. And we'll hit 3. And now we will select all of the faces that make up the center of our model. And yep, that looks pretty good. And we'll hit tab to leave out of that and go back into texture paint. And now we'll go up to here and we'll select the paint mask. And now you'll see that everything else has this kind of highlighted overlay. And now if we hit 7 here, and I'm going to, zoom in here. And just pick a point where we want our lines and then do your best to try to line them up. And that's pretty good. Although I think that's a little too thick, to be fair. Yeah. Let's try a radius of 7. What happened is I zoomed in too much. So let's do 5, actually. And like I said, just kind of do your best to line them up. And that will work, except it did not... it didn't... there we go. Okay. And again, I don't know how many planks everyone wants, but it's your model, kind of do whatever works for you. That did not apply the line at all. So let's try that. There we go. And I just have this here be just a nice really big plank here. It's very difficult to line up this tool here, by the way. That, I mean, it did line up, but not good enough. Wasn't, the color is not dark enough. Okay, so now we have, our board lines. And now we're going to hit 1. And I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to go into, actually, you know what? I'm going to just do that for the bottom. I wasn't going to, but... So we'll go down to options and we'll turn off occlude and backface culling. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this... I'm going to get that out of there. I'm going to make this just a smidge darker. And with the backface culling and all turned off, we should be able to create darker lines. There we go. And don't worry about making mistakes. You will make them like I made. It's just a thing that happens. Let's kind of try to avoid that. All right, there we go. Ah. Come on now. As I said, it can be very difficult sometimes to get all those little checkers nice and lined up. But when you do, you get that nice clean look. All right. And here is fine. Oof. Nah. Wasn't really dark enough for that. Even if it did actually line up fairly well. Ah, a little tricky here. Nope. I may have to lower my multiply a little there. Make it just a little darker. There we go. Okay, so now we have our lovely little grid lines there, and we'll hit 1 because, you know, we want to look at it straight on. And then for this, we'll do pretty much the exact same thing. They don't need to be lined up too perfectly, but I would like them to be as lined up as possible. And maybe we'll just make these like a little bit bigger of planks. After all, you know, we don't want this video to be, you know, 20 minutes long or anything like that. Okay, and so because of that, we now have our lovely wood planks there. And I'm going to turn occlude and all that back on. And I will go back into the paint mask. And you can see now that we actually have some pretty decent, you know, little lines there. And we'll go up to image and we will just save it. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some text. So I am just going to open recent and just reopen that. And you can see we have some nice, lovely lines in there. And I don't use Krita that often, but I'll just kind of drag it out like so. And then for placeholder text, I'm just going to put Food Rations. And then I believe I do have a lot of fonts in here. Like way too many. In other words, I don't think I'm going to be able to... there it is. The Armalite rifle is what I'm going to use, which is more like a, kind of like a military, you know, look, if you will. And I'm just going to double click this, and we're going to make the text solid black, and then we'll hit save. Close it. Okay. And we're just going to hit Control S, save it, and then we're going to go into image, and we're just going to reload the texture. And I got it pretty close. Let's see here. Let's set this back to space and the stroke method. And then let's increase the radius. Okay, so I need to get it to be about up to that line. Oh, I didn't. Okay. Good. And I also need to shrink it a little bit, but let's go on ahead and just move it on up a little bit there. I'm trying to... I do not use this this often, the text tool. Just discard that. All right, undo that, and we'll just grab this, and then I'll just grab it up to, I think it was about here. And is there a way to shrink it? I think I'm gonna have to like lower the font size. So we'll just double click that, and we'll lower the font size down to 8, and we'll save it, and we'll go back into here, and we'll try to, like, you know, recenter it slightly, and we'll just hit Control S, hit OK, and then we'll go back into Blender, and we will reload our textures, and there you go. You have something that just says Food Rations, and it's got that nice, lovely, I can hardly read it look. And we'll just double click this, and is there a way to turn off anti-aliasing with this? Just hit save. Save it. I don't think that actually made any difference there. No. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to kind of dirty this object up a little. You know, it looks nice, but it could look nicer. And so, yeah, I'll go ahead and add that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise it up, set the color back. I'm going to go down here to this texture tool. I'm going to hit new. And I'm going to call this, I don't know, dirty, I suppose. Or moss, actually, because that's actually what I'm going to load. And we're going to hit open. And I'm going to go into my little moss thing here. I'm going to select this. It's actually like a concrete decal stain. And we'll go down to texture here. And we'll set the mode to stenciled. And you see it looks kind of like, ugh. And we'll set the image aspect ratio. And then we'll hit 1 to kind of look, you know, from the front. And then we're just going to paint. And that looks really bad. So we're going to go to here. And yeah, we don't want to invert. Okay. So now the trick is, so there are different types of blend modes, and I really recommend for anyone still watching at this point, is like you pick a blend mode based on kind of like, you know, what you want, so to speak. I'm going to increase the radius so we could just paint it faster. And so as an example, you know, if we leave it like this, it looks actually like we're applying moss to it with mix. But if we set it to multiply and then say pick our dark gray, now it just looks dirty. And that's what we're kind of going to go for here. All right, so I'm going to undo that. And I'm just going to line this up, I guess, kind of like right here. And another thing is you want to make sure that this is kind of, you know, set back to where it was from before. And also, because Blender doesn't really have layers, you definitely want to make sure you get the stroke in one go if possible, unless because otherwise the second stroke will make it darker. And now I'm going to go over to here, and I'm just going to go around the crate and just kind of add in some dirt kind of at the bottom in just different places. Try to get like a unique-ish look to it. And we'll just go all the way around, make this side like really dirty for whatever reason. And then we'll do the top. Actually, let's do the bottom first. So for the bottom, I'm gonna make it really, really dirty. And then I'm gonna go over here to the angle and I'm gonna set it to 180 so that it'll flip it. And yeah, we're making the bottom like absolutely filthy. So if we go into solid view, hold Z and go into solid view, you can see how filthy this thing is getting. And we'll go back into material preview and then we'll hit 1. And for the top, we're not going to make it super kind of dirty because, you know, it's not like sitting on the ground or anything. But we are going to make it kind of filthy. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lower the strength for the top. Let's say 0.75. And then we're going to set the angle back to 0. Okay. And now you have a really dirty food ration crate. And that's pretty much all I want to do to it. You know, you can add more, you know, feel free to play around with the lines. I think I should have actually lowered the strength a little for the lines so that it would blend in better. So, you know, go back to texture paint there and then select this, go back into multiply, set it back to say 20, close out of the texture. Yeah, I think like if we look at this here and I just like go across, I think this would have been better. Not at that radius, of course, but yeah, I feel like that may have been better. In fact, maybe even want to go lower with the multiply strength there for the crate. Yeah, that would have probably been better. But once you've added everything else, it's not too bad. It kind of sticks out. I actually quite like it. It looks pretty good. So thank you all for watching. If you managed to, you know, stick with me up until this point. And one thing we are going to do is we're going to save it. And we're going to go to image, save, and then image, pack. And now we'll save it again. And And our image is actually packed inside of our blend file, this lovely little food ration. So now we can, save it out and all that sort of stuff. And we have just a very basic, simple, dirty little crate. And it, looks all messy and stuff. And feel free to make it look however you want. This side could have used a little dirtying up. This side could have used a bit more. And yeah, so there you have it. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to support this channel, you become a YouTube member. And there's a link to that as well in the description. And I will see you all in the next one. You guys have a good one. Hey everyone, thanks for watching Raven Gaming Labs. Thanks to all the members and viewers who make RGL possible. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so that you can be notified. If you want to become a member, hit the join button or link in the description below. Members get early access to videos, member-exclusive content, and more. As well, don't forget to join our awesome community over at Discord. Y'all have a good one.